Welcome back, everybody, to America on the Road with Chris Teague, Jack Nerad back with you. We're so glad you're with us. We do appreciate it. And it is road test time. We love road test time. We love driving other people's cars and then telling you about them. And Chris, you were driving a vehicle, one of my favorites recently, a vehicle that might end up in our driveway sometime. But tell me about your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm still going back and forth on the styling, and I'll get your opinion on that in just a moment. But I'm talking about the 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe, and I tested the top calligraphy model. Jack, Hyundai overhauled this vehicle in 2024 and gave it a completely new look, new interior, new tech. And the new styling is kind of somewhere between a Land Rover and maybe another upscale brand like a Lexus GX or something. What do you think about the change?
I like the styling, and it's interesting. My wife doesn't like it so much. She still likes the vehicle a lot, but the styling is, she thinks the other one was maybe more attractive. I think it was a little less in your face or a little less manly, quote unquote. I like what they've done with it.
I agree. I like it too. I don't know if I would call it manly. I think I would call it more modern, right? It looks a little bit more robotic or futuristic, if you want to call it that. But you can get into this vehicle for a little bit more than $35,000. That's for the base SE trim with front wheel drive. My fully loaded calligraphy model with all-wheel drive and a couple of options came in at just under $50,000. So you got a pretty good range to play with here. You can get into it pretty cheap, and you can spend a little bit more if you want to. All of them come with a turbocharged 2.5-liter four-cylinder. You get 277 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque. And as I mentioned, you either get front or all-wheel drive. Jack, one of my favorite things about this powertrain is that it doesn't use a continuously variable transmission. It relies on an 8-speed dual clutch. And what you get out of that is a more responsive feeling powertrain. I won't say that it makes this vehicle feel quick or exciting, but it's got good power, and the transmission shifts when you expect it to. And the shifts are quick too, right? Dual clutches are very, very quick. And there's none of the droning or whining that you kind of hear from vehicles with a continuously variable transmission. You also, what's that?
Well, I was just going to say they're quick but not clunky, which you might expect out of a dual clutch transmission. Some of them are, not all that user friendly for just around town, but I think this one is.
It is, and it doesn't have that, like you mentioned, the clunkiness off the line that you kind of sometimes get when you're going from first to second gear, from stop to first gear. But in any case, this vehicle can tow up to 4,500 pounds when properly equipped. My neighbor has one. He tows his small boat. He's been able to pull a trailer with a chicken coop on it. And so I think for a lot of people, that's plenty of towing. And besides, I think most people probably won't use it for towing, but it's nice to know that you have it. This vehicle has a very nice ride quality, Jack. I think I've talked about the plow-torn roads here until people are probably tired of hearing about it, but there's really not a situation on these roads here in Maine where there are lots of potholes, lots of cracks, where it felt unsettled. There is some cabin noise as you're going over the rougher roads, but I think by and large, it's a very smooth, very refined vehicle that most people will be very happy with. Excuse me. It comes standard with cloth upholstery. My test vehicle had leather, genuine leather upholstery. You get heated and ventilated front seats. There's also a third row seat, but Jack, I'll tell you, as a 6 foot tall adult, I had a lot of trouble getting back there and even more trouble getting out. Once I was back there, I thought I might be spending the night in the way back of a Hyundai Santa Fe, but I think for kids, it's just fine. You also get a 12.3-inch touchscreen here. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard, so Hyundai has overcome its inability to equip a wireless Android Auto and CarPlay with the larger touchscreen. My top trim also came with a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, and it's configurable, so you can choose which information you want to see, and a 12-speaker Bose audio system. So I think, Jack, we've talked at length about Hyundai's infotainment, but I want to get your opinion on it before I go any further.
I think they do a good job. I think it's very straightforward. It's easy to understand. It isn't really all that interesting, but I guess not interesting is really a good thing, mostly when you're driving and, you need to get into something fast. I think it works quite well.
It does. It's not as flashy. You don't have a ton of animations and things like you do in other systems, but it's easy to use while you're driving, so it's not going to be super distracting while you're pecking around on the screen there. All Santa Fe's come with a decent number of standard safety features. You get like forward collision alerts, automatic emergency braking, and so on. And my calligraphy trim had a blind spot camera system, which I really enjoy. You see a view of the blind spot right in the gauge cluster, blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alerts, and a whole lot more, Jack. So I think if I were going to opt for this vehicle, I would go for a mid-range trim, save $5,000 or $6,000, and still get most of the great features. But even at $49,000, this vehicle feels like a decent value, and it's hard to beat, the tech and the standard features here.
Yeah. Really nice vehicle. I liked it a lot, and it was my contender for Sport Utility of the Year, North American Sport Utility of the Year. So I'm right with you. Very cool vehicle.